Digidesign set out to give guitarists the ability to record direct, to songwrite, to have keeper amp tracks that you really wouldn't have access to unless you had an unlimited budget.
It became clear to us that it was a better idea to do a basic collection of the most kind of sought-after amplifiers and do them exceptionally well, where we really dug deep into understanding each section of the signal as it ran from your guitar, through an amplifier, through the microphone. I think that level of attention to detail is really one of the big things that I find that sets this product high above what is out there. Finding the right amplifier that had all the original components that sounded great and really was a prime example of the best in its class of that era was really important to us, and we spent a lot of time trying to make that happen.
When the project started, we said we're going to pick 10 very unique amplifiers that have different characteristics, different sounds, and have different places in the Hall of Fame of great amps. We went through a great effort to do our research and understand exactly what speaker codes, transformer codes match to a specific amp once we picked the year. It's not so easy to find one that's in perfect shape, and then once you've gone through a few of those and finally picked the one that is the one, bringing it in-house and starting that process. Now imagine doing that for 10 different amps.
We're really proud of what we have. We think they're outstanding, outstanding amplifiers.
So one of the things that we sought out to do is let's go ahead and basically physically model a guitar amp that models point to point from beginning to end what the amp does.
Technologies that have been available up until now basically just group preamp tubes all together as just a general preamp tube emulation. Chris Townsend and the guys in the DSP group put years into analyzing each section, multiple gain stages in the preamp, multiple tube models, the transformer model afterwards, the power amp.
There's so much lore about, oh, it's this, it's that. I found it was amazing how much of the lore is accurate and how much is really important to model.
It is a living instrument that has been modeled. That comes with it all the quirky things that happens in a real amplifier.
Like the ghost notes in an AC30. When you listen to a Brian May recording, when you listen to some of those Queen tracks, there's this note, an overtone on his distortion that's almost like a ring modulator deep into the distortion, and if you take that out, it just doesn't have that vibe.
It took a lot of effort to capture some of these characteristics, dynamic characteristics, how the amp would sag when you dug into it.
The dynamics of how that feels to be able to control the power amp sag the same way that you could on a 100-watt plexi, where how you dig in on the strings determines the type of response that you're going to get.
I think there are subtleties to the quality of the sound that people may not catch at first, but without it, there'll be an underlying feeling that something's not quite right. We really wanted to hone in on that kind of stuff and make sure that it was all there.
With cabinet modeling, it's a similar type of cloning exercise that goes on there with the software, where not only do you have a cabinet in play, you have the resonance of the cabinet, you have a speaker within that cabinet, and then you have a selection of mics that's recording that speaker, getting what we call impulse responses that we feed a real-time convolution engine.
When we were first thinking about doing impulse responses of the cabinets, we started to realize, wow, mic placement is really critical to how amps sound. So we started looking into who could we trust to really get the tone, the combination of the proximity of the microphone and exactly the angle and how it's placed on the speaker.
It became essential to bring in somebody like John Kundaberti, who has, an outstanding list of credentials. So John was brought in to help us identify the greatest places to put these microphones and give us the foundation from which to build our mic and cabinet modeling from that point on.
In order to make that dynamic and lifelike instead of just a static, digital impulse response of the cabinet, there's the cabinet resonance is then included into the speaker cabinet model, and then the speaker breakup. And that way you can sort of play with the speaker cabinet the same way that you would expect. If you use your use your thumb closer back to the bridge, you'll hear the thump, and if you dig in with your pick, you'll hear the speaker crack up. And that is revolutionary. There's no other amp modeling product out there that does that.
I think by the time that we had something that we could play through and we could listen to and really start sizing up the quality of what we were making, we immediately put it out to a lot of respected players. Without their feedback, the product wouldn't have been what it is today. They provided all kinds of great comments and notes about how to adjust the feel of it based on years and years of experience in the studio and on stage.
So what we have is a plugin that is emulating all of the playable aspects of this amp, or making this great performance between you and the instrument that is the amp, all within Pro Tools. In the plugin, you'll find that what's modeled is first the actual preamps, power amps, what we call like the head of the amplifiers. That's modeled as a separate component to the speaker cabinets. It was really to provide flexibility so that you have any amp head that you like, then with any amp cabinet that you like. What you'll also find are some Digidesign custom amps. You'll see that there's a vintage version and a modern version, and then there's variants of those. So the idea is that we take the best of our knowledge of vintage amps, customize some models there, and do the same for modern amps.
Once you sort of learn to play the amp, it's amazing what you can coax out of them. I can get exactly the same feeling with the plugin.
When you think about playing these models through this plugin, what a great feeling to be able to have these amps interact with you like you really are in the room playing with them. It's not only about the fact that there's something playable that speaks to the artistic side of you, but here's something that also has great flexibility for the engineer that's going to be using this as well.
It was really kind of the first time where I really felt, wow, you know, all this great flexibility that I have in using a plugin is being matched with an amazing sound quality.
It's gotten to the point now where I honestly wouldn't bother miking up an amp, because the amps in the 11 collection are better than the amps that I own.
In my opinion, I think this is the closest you can get to modeling an amplifier.
I think it really does raise the bar. We made the right choices in terms of providing the kind of features and qualities of it that people can really get a lot of mileage out of.
It marks the start of great things to come.